Director Carrasco, would you open us in prayer, please?
Yes. Please bow your heads with me. Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you for the many blessings you've given us. We ask that you continue to watch over this city, this board, and our community. We thank you for everything you've given us. We ask that you bless us with rain as it's much needed. We ask that you be with us in our decisions today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, sir. Moving on to public comment. Issues or items that are not on the agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, begin by stating their name, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. Board members may request that a discussed item be placed on a future agenda. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Do I have any public comment this morning?
Good morning, Board. My name is Dave Erickson, Director of the Small Business Development Center at ASU.
Good morning.
Good morning, and as customary, I bring our graduate assistants to introduce them to you. We have Savannah Morrow here, who's from the great city of Kerrville, and she is in the MBA program here at ASU and one of our graduate assistants at the SBDC. She is going to be the one that took Simba's place, and she's going to work with me and Nora on operating the business factory, especially in the marketing recruitment side. So Savannah's been with us a couple weeks, correct? And she's full in gear, in tune to the incubator and working hard. So appreciate her being here. Also, we have Blake Harrison, and Blake is a graduate assistant also in the MBA program. He hails from Fort Worth. He is also the captain of the football team, ASU, and he'll be with us through December. Savannah will be with us through mid-May, and Blake is working with us on various projects at the SBDC, and we're happy to have him as well. So,
Fantastic.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad y'all are here. Thank you, Dave. Glad y'all are here. Any other public comment?
Morning, Board. I'm Bruce Partain, President and CEO of the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to invite you to our Business Expo, which is coming right up. It is October 8th. We're going to have a preview of the expo. You'll get an invitation on October 7th right here at McNeese. And that'll be the Buyers Meet Suppliers reception. So if you are a purchasing professional, we especially want to make sure you show up to meet some of the suppliers in San Angelo who will be exhibiting on October 8th. In the morning on October 8th, Tuesday, we'll start with a business-to-business. Admission is free with a business card for the morning about 9 o'clock to about 11:30. At 11:30, we break down for our traditional State of the City luncheon. We've added that into the Business Expo, so it's a twofer. You get to see two things. You do need to reserve online at sanangelo.org for the luncheon. It's the regular price, $18 in advance. Then we will switch on over to the afternoon, which is open to the general public. It's only $5 to attend, and that'll take us to about 3:30 in the afternoon. We are inviting nonprofits who are members of the Chamber to also exhibit in the afternoon, so you'll see a new crowd come in. So at any point on that time scale from October 7th to October 8th, if you'd like to come see some of the more progressive businesses in San Angelo, we invite you to come to the Business Expo here at the McNeese Convention Center in beautiful San Angelo, Texas. More information at sanangelo.org. Thank you all very much. Any questions? Any suggestions? Anybody would like to be a silver sponsor? Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Consider approving the August 28, 2019 meeting minutes. Consider approving the necessary corporation disbursements. Consider approving the August 2019 financial statements. And consider a resolution authorizing the board president to negotiate and execute a Business Resource Center office lease agreement with Roger Horton, DBA Shea Transportation. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. We will now move to regular agenda. A, consider rescheduling the November meeting to November 20th, 2019. presentation by Ms. Nora Navarez.
Good morning, Board. Just for our viewers out there, COSA DC meetings are held fourth Wednesday of each month. So for the month of November, our meeting actually lands the day before Thanksgiving. So what I'm requesting is that we move that meeting the week prior, which would make it November 20th. So if you have any questions?
I think that is a good idea. Anyone else? Does that conflict with anybody else?
I won't be here for that meeting.
Good to know. Okay.
Do what? Yeah, we do need to, I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Director Carrasco, second by Director Well, I was gonna say Director Max. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. B, presentation and discussion of the airport real estate development strategy for San Angelo Regional Airport. Presentation made by Molly Waller, Managing Member, Centurion Planning and Design. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here today to talk about this project. I have some slides. Always putting it up? All right. There it is. There we go. As many of you know, the airport is ongoing an airport master planning process. It is about a 1.5 year long process where we look at the airport and the facilities, hangars, runways, taxiways, things like that, and we develop essentially a 20-year vision for the airport with a strong focus on the short-term 5-year development needs. Prior to undertaking that study, we identified a section of land that is not necessarily needed for distinct aviation-related purposes hangars. It's not connected to runways or taxiways. And the trend in the industry overall is for airports to identify ways that they can be self-sustaining from a revenue generation standpoint. So what COSA DC supported the city with was undertaking a land use management strategies study to identify how could we use that land, how can we market that land, and what's that land going to be used for. So we have completed that part of the study, and I'm going to brief you on the findings today. You can see on this slide is about a 120-acre parcel divided by the access road to the airport. As part of this study, we undertook a great deal of stakeholder engagement. One thing that in my opinion came out of the study that was great was it brought a bunch of different people to sit around the table and talk about the airport and to talk about what's happening at the airport from a commercial service standpoint to the general aviation aircraft to one of the most unique things San Angelo has, and that is the UASs, the Customs and Border Protection, operate at the airport. As far as I know, unless a new airport has entered the market, San Angelo Airport is the only airport that currently has unmanned aircraft flying on a regular basis communicating with the tower. That's coming, though. That's coming for all the rest of us. And so that's an area where San Angelo is kind of leading. Met with a lot of the businesses out there, identified, okay, what are you doing at the airport? How are you planning on growing? Is there anything that could come to the airport that would support your business and your business ventures? So I had a bunch of great meetings with stakeholders all across the city. We did kind of the high level look at, okay, let's look at retail. Let's look at hotel. Let's look at office and industrial. And what we found was there's really not a demand for that in and of itself at the airport, simply because of the location of the airport from the city and the large amount of available property for those types of resources in the city. So we took all of those things off the table. And we really dug into an aviation-related assessment, looking at what the current tenants need, looking at opportunities with the universities, Howard College, technical colleges, looking at what could San Angelo do to possibly position themselves for the development of this next generation of aircraft. And that's really where the focus kind of honed in, because it is an emerging market. And in the conversations we had with representatives of Goodfellow, those folks are on the leading edge. There's a lot of discussion about 5G, and that's something that separates Abilene, or San Angelo from Abilene, or separates you from Midland, Odessa, from Lubbock, even from some of the Metroplex airports. So we really honed in on the growth of that industry, then looked at, okay, what are the land needs for these types of folks? If they're going to come out and they want to do training, they want to build the new generation of aircraft at the airport. We looked at what do they need from a land standpoint. San Angelo in the past has had interest from what are called MRO facilities, maintenance, repair, and overhaul, where people take their aircraft in and they get them repainted or refurbished, or they have their annual checkups. You essentially have a mini MRO at the airport already. You've got a bunch of different businesses that essentially do what a big MRO Duncan Aviation does up in Lincoln, Nebraska. So we looked at the growth of that market, talked with universities, and really found one of the things that people really grabbed onto was, and I need to make sure I say this super clearly because we got really excited about this. San Angelo used to have a big MRO, AMCOM, and so you still have a trained workforce in the city. A lot of those folks are currently working with Customs and Border Protection. When you look at the next generation, when you look at the UASs, the drones that are going to be carrying people, that's a whole other line of training people are going to need to go through, and there's going to be a lot of jobs in that arena. So we had conversations with Howard College and ASU. Some of the existing tenants of the airport have taken our conversations the next step further and thought, okay, what can we do to get ahead to improve our business? So we identified there might be a benefit for placing an education or a research facility out at the airport that these businesses could use. The summary of the study was there's not a lot of demand for, like I said, hotel, retail, industrial, office park, things like that. The airport, the A&A industry, which is the aircraft and airframes, that continues to grow as people are buying planes and we're pulling out of these recessions. So expansion of the existing facilities. You've got a great paint hangar. Sure be nice if somebody would want to locate near that paint hangar to grow a business out there. We looked at the benefits and the challenges and it really did an education on what it takes to develop at an airport to the tenants and various city leaders so they understand, okay, what does it take if you want to put a business out there? You can't buy the land, you have to lease it. So a lot of education happened there. But the best thing that came out of this that's going to be included in the airport master plan is essentially a land use plan. And there were a few surprises that came out of this. I'll start up with the government services expansion. We set aside about 5 acres. In talking to Customs and Border Protection and some other governmental agencies, there's an interest to increase possibly UAS operations at the airport. So we wanted to make sure there was space for that. Going down into the pink area, the airport's closing runway 927. And so what we found was you could get airfield access to that part of the airport if you constructed a couple of taxiways. That's where that current paint hangar is. And so as far as going out and marketing to folks that might want to build at the airport, you've got a facility that a lot of airports don't have in that paint hangar. So we are going to be providing access to that pink area from the existing runway and taxiway to facilitate those types of businesses in the pink area. The purple is that Workforce Development Center. I've done work at Chennault Airport in Lake Charles, Louisiana. A lot of big oil and gas occurs there. They've got a workforce training center that Phillips 66 constructed on airport property through a ground lease. And that's where they bring their folks to train before they send them out to work out on the oil rigs. The blue is more of a commerce park. A lot of times, I'm a startup business for the most part. You're not wanting to necessarily buy land to build a building. You can get a 20, 30-year lease at the airport and put up a building. There's some benefits to that. So we did set aside a part for kind of an incubator, an office park, industrial park. There's a lot of industries that are connected to the airport. The oil and gas folks, they have planes. They may be some of you would target to build an office out there. And then the community activity zone, that's where the ball fields are currently. We couldn't really identify a need or a good way to market those areas. And so we left that as just kind of a continuation of the existing uses and possibly growth in the area. So next steps, we tried to put together a roadmap for the city, close that training gap to continue to market what makes San Angelo Regional Airport different, specifically the UAS, the fact you have a mini MRO. Close the training gap so that when Vertex wants to grow, they've got a source of employees here in San Angelo. A marketing strategy, the airport is, to get to the airport's website, you go through the city website. The airport's a business. It needs to market itself as its own business. So we talked about separating the airport and making it different than the city. and really continue what you're doing. The city's really embraced, a lot of communities have not embraced these new technologies like St. Angelo have. So continue doing what you're doing, thinking outside the box, having the conversations, and see what else may land out at the airport. So that's a really quick summary of our findings. The other thing that I'll mention that I know is an ongoing conversation with the city are utilities. And we did find through the study that it's difficult for somebody to build a large facility at the airport simply because of the lack of, there's a water issue, as everybody knows, there's a water and utility issue. And so that's another challenge that's out at the airport, but from all the indications I've gotten, that's underway.
Interesting. Thank you. What did y'all find about needing or the city wanting a second airline?
That's kind of something we're valuing as part of the master plan, and I'll just give you a really high level how that ties to the airport planning process. We do what are called the airport aviation forecast as part of the airport master plan. And when we do that, we look at the commercial service operations. And when we were looking at, we take a snapshot in time, and it was the end of 2018, front part of 2019, and what we were finding was the planes were full, the load factor was very high, the airline, the revenue per seat mile was very high. St. Angelo was a very profitable market for St. Angelo. There really wasn't capacity. People essentially couldn't buy tickets. The planes were full. Since then, American has put a couple more planes in the mix, and so there's a few more seats available. But we did identify as part of the master planning process that there's potentially a need to serve a market other than Dallas.
All right. Looks good. Questions, concerns? Anything else? All right. Thank
Thanks,
you very
everybody.
much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Moving on to line item C, public hearing regarding the use of sales and use tax funds in the amount not to exceed $638,861 for affordable housing assistance program to assist low-income qualifying homeowners in rehabilitation of residential structures damaged citywide by the E2 tornado occurring on May 18th, 2019. A project authorized under Chapter 505 of the Texas Development Corporation Act for projects related to affordable housing. Presentation made by Robert Schneeman. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. As the board is aware, and you can see on the agenda, we're going to have a number of public hearings this morning. The reason we hold public hearings is there a requirement under Section 505.159 of the local government code. That's a state code. A hearing is required before we can undertake a project, and except as provided by subsection B, a type B corporation shall hold at least one public hearing before spending money to undertake the project. So that's why we're holding a series of public hearings this morning for different projects. This particular project involves storm damage repair that was a result of the hurricane, and although the board is very familiar with this project, the public isn't, so I'm going to run through just a couple of slides here. These are examples of some of the damage that occurred in the Bradford area. There's a slide missing. There we go. Damage to the city was in excess of in millions of dollars. Damage to the Bradford area alone was $652,000, which includes total reconstruction of 3 houses, rehab of about 14 houses, and re-roofing 27. And of those occupants, 63% did not have any homeowners insurance. This is a rather low-income area. As a result, the board approved the project at, I believe it was our last meeting, and we're now here to hold the public hearing.
Very good. It is 8:51. I will now open the public hearing. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Moving on to line item D, public hearing regarding the use of sales and use tax funds in the amount not to exceed $13,000 for a project for air service marketing and recruitment services authorized under the Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 505, for the promotion and development of new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs. Presentation also by Bob Schneeman.
Thank you. As we just discussed, staff believes that there is the potential need for a second air service at the airport. That is supported by the research that was done for the master plan study. So we are proposing doing an air service marketing contract also with Centurion Planning and Design. The first task will be to review the information gathered during the master plan process, compile the data and add additional data as it's required, and then prepare a PowerPoint presentation consisting of approximately 20 slides, which then moves on to phase 2, schedule a meeting with United Airlines at their world headquarters in Chicago, and prepare the city staff and Costa DC staff for that Chicago meeting, and also accompany staff by 2 consultant members to the Chicago meeting, and see if we can maybe generate some interest in providing a second air service here at the airport.
Very good. I will open a public hearing. It is now 8:53. Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Thank you, Bob. Moving on to line item E, public hearing regarding the use of sales and use tax funds in an amount not to exceed $600,000 for purchase of a vacant tract of land being 180 acres, more or less, out of J.C. Matthews Abstract 8071 Survey 0178 and WCRR Co-Survey 177 Abstract 4031 being a portion of tax lot ID number 610807107110000, generally located adjacent to the south right-of-way of Farm to Market 2105, 1.5 miles west of Highway 277, a project authorized under Chapter 505 of the Texas Development Corporation Act for industrial and commercial development necessary to promote economic development and expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs.
Should I take a
Take it
break
away.
after reading that? Okay, as the board's aware, this is a project to purchase 180 acres for a future development that will create primary jobs. It's for an industrial development. This is the site that we're looking at. The contracts have all been signed on this now, and we're moving ahead with the environmental study, phase 1 environmental. Open it for public hearing.
Very good. It is 8:55. I will now open the public hearing. Is there any public comment at this time? And I will now close the public hearing. Thank you, Bob. Moving on to line item F, public hearing regarding the use of sales and use tax funds in an amount not to exceed $70,000 to provide an economic development incentive to Double Barrel Outfitters LLC for a project related to business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs, as authorized for a Type B corporation under Local Government Code, Chapter 505, Subchapter C. Presentation by Ms. Shannon Scott. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Again, just a quick recap on this project that was approved by you all last month at the board meeting, and then subsequently approved by or ratified by City Council last week at their meeting. So just the details of the project for Double Barrel Outfitters. They currently have 13 full-time employees. They do anticipate hiring at least 4, but up to 20 additional employees within the next 3 years, with those employees having an average salary of $40,000. As far as the capital investment's concerned, they do anticipate investing $750,000 for the construction of a new building to assist with their expansion. Again, the breakdown of the incentives, so once that capital investment of the $750,000 is met, we will give them a one-time grant in the sum of $50,000. Of course, they have to retain their 13 current existing employees, and then we would offer them an additional $1,000 per FTE created up to the 20 FTEs. So the total investment for incentives would be $70,000 with the capital investment and the FTE creation. So with that, I would ask to open the public hearing.
Do that. It is now 8:57. I will now open the public hearing. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Thank you, Shannon. We will now move to line item 6, closed session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title 5, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government Subchapter 5, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. A, Section 551.087, to deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the board is receiving from business prospects with whom economic development negotiations are being conducted. Discuss financial and other incentives relating to the following projects. Project 2019 LSB 181, Project 2019 E212, Project 2019 CC 141. Line item B, San Angelo Chamber of Commerce Performance Agreement. We are now in closed session. Now, 9:26, and we are officially out of executive session. We do have some action coming out of executive session. I will move for the approval of the 2020 COSA DC San Angelo Chamber of Commerce Professional Services Agreement with an increase of $25,000 from $225,000 to $250,000 annually to run from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
Any other discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Announcements and considerations of future agenda items. Anybody got anything? I will move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
It is now.
It is now 9:27. Thank you, Ed.